12 highlights from the Society's annual conference. I'm excited to be joined today by three dear friends, all of whom have attended their fair share of conferences over the years. We have Courtney Kamlet, a fellow CorpFin staffer who served as chair of this year's annual conference for the Society of Corporate Governance. She did a tremendous job of putting together a very strong program. Courtney serves as VP Group General Counsel and Corporate Secretary for Vontier down in North Carolina. Then we have Jersey boy Doug Chia, who has an amazing blog on Soundboard governance. He's much more than just a blogger. He is a former chair of the Society, as well as a former executive director of the Conference Board's ESG Center, and has been in-house for several large companies. And finally, Liz Dunshee, my former colleague over at thecorporatecouncil.net, who still works there, as well as serving as a shareholder for Fredrikson in Minneapolis. Liz and Courtney co-host an amazing podcast entitled Women Governance Trailblazers. I urge you to check that out. So let's dig in today on realtransparentdisclosure.com. So I'm Broc Romanek. I'm a big fan of yous. We're going to talk about the Society's conference and delving right, can you see that? I don't know. Right into 12 things that we remembered, liked. I got to start with John Chevedden. Maybe everyone's going to talk about John Chevedden, but he was not on the program. He was not on the agenda. They'd invited him, but they didn't expect him to show up, perhaps. This is the first conference of any kind that John had ever attended. So he was around for all the sessions, and until the very last minute, he was really enjoying himself. So how I found out about John is I'm in the exhibit hall on the first night for the reception, and I'm talking to my boy, Alan Dye, who I haven't seen in 4 years, and we're excited to see each other. But out of the corner of my eye, I see this elderly person with a John Chevedden name tag. And I said, sorry, Alan, I got to go check this out. So I go up to John and I talk to him and I ask him for a picture, and he was not very happy about the prospect, but eventually he relented and we got a picture of me, Alan, and him, and this guy named Weston. And after that, someone right away said, hey, can I get my picture with you? And so he became a celebrity. And he was happy to take pictures the whole 3 or 4 days. He did remember that I did talk to him 25 years ago when I was in-house at Lockheed Martin. And it was pretty amazing that he remembered our encounter way back then. Although I've emailed with him over the years trying to get a podcast unsuccessfully with him because he was suspicious of me, as perhaps he should be. And now it's Courtney's turn.
So I have to say, he actually was on the agenda and he reached out and wanted to come to the conference. So as conference planner, I was both shocked and impressed that he wanted to actually attend, a little bit nervous, knowing some of the problems that issuers have had with him in the past. But I thought it was a bold move for a lot of reasons. And I was really impressed that he stayed the course and he really did attend the sessions. He sat pretty close to the front. I saw him frequently. I would say there were just a couple of things that I thought were amazing. This whole conference was more, it was ESG with more on the E and the S than we normally have, which I think was both very timely and very helpful. One of the things that I really enjoyed, surprisingly, that I rarely enjoy, was the ethics panel. And the second one was on, ethical legal ramifications to AI, which just made me think, especially as we're looking at this in-house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of ethics either. Just doesn't do it for me. I try to
always
avoid
thought
it.
that about you, Doug.
I know. So I think echoing some of the other themes that you guys have talked about, Chevedden, clearly the star of the show, but I think it reflects something bigger about the conference. Maybe it's in the vein of the theme, a balanced approach, that the Society tends to have a kind of a calming, moderating effect on people. And so when Jim McRitchie first came a number of years ago, he commented to me, and I had invited him. He was also skeptical. He came out and said, hey, that wasn't so bad. These people are nice and they're really just trying to do their job. And so Chevedden, I think, probably was struck in the same way. And I think people were also, it humanized him. Say, okay, this is he's not just a bad guy. He's actually pretty nice if you don't talk about shareholder proposals with him. It just takes the edge off a little bit. I think when you have future discussions with these people, obviously they're not going to change their views. They're not going to change their shareholder proposals. But I think you also saw that with the interaction with ISS and Glass Lewis, having them on the main stage for, which is usually is rare. Usually they're in a breakout session. And way back in the past, things got pretty contentious with ISS and Glass Lewis, even at the conference, to the point that they thought, maybe we don't want to attend this anymore because we're just not so, we don't want to be the subject of attack. But over the years coming, again, it humanized them. They come, they hang out for the social events and all of that kind of stuff. They meet people's families. And, over the years now, it's like, it's a pretty friendly conversation that they had on the stage the other day.
And I will just reiterate many of those same themes. Loved meeting and seeing John Chevedden. I went to the panel that he was on 14A8, and Ning Chu of Davis Polk moderated that, and it was a very excellent panel. It did humanize him. Like Doug said, I don't think it will necessarily change anybody's approach to shareholder proposals, but I think it helps for both sides to be able to see and kind of understand the other side's perspective a little bit better. And like Broc said, he stayed for the whole week, which was really cool. And he had a lot of selfies, a lot of long conversations. He even went to the closing event at the Natural History Museum. And yeah, that was just a fun little extra that I wasn't expecting for the conference.
I'll also mention that Commissioner Mark Ueda, who gave the opening keynote, he stayed for the 14A8 panel and was in the audience listening to Chevedden. And, I think that's, that shows a lot about the kind of conference we put on and the opportunities for people to see each other, in real life, so to speak.
And while I didn't see Chevedden with an iPhone, I did see him with a cute little camera. He was occasionally taking pictures of the sessions.
Nice.
Hey, he didn't take a picture with me. My second remembrance is meeting first-time attendees and other young people who I didn't know and who didn't know who I was, which was a surprise to me. It's been 4 years since I've been out in the community attending a conference, so it felt a little awkward being one of the older attendees at this point, or in the top 10 perhaps. Many of my peers have retired. Really, over the last 4 years, it seems that there's been this huge shift. But it was great to meet new people, and I was not shy at all going up to someone I didn't know and introducing myself. I know all of us are shy in this community, I would say, and are introverts at heart, even me, believe it or not. But my particular moment was at the museum reception. I was in the elevator with 3 young men, and I introduced myself by just my first name, and they said their first names, and they asked me who I was with, and I looked at my badge, and I was just like myself, because it just kind of stunned me.
Yeah, I had that same experience that, I haven't been to the conference in a number of years for various reasons. And of course, COVID, these were virtual conferences. So, and I just had come from my college reunion. And so this felt like a reunion of sorts, which I know some people have said it has that feel. And, just catching up with people, having conversations about, what you're doing these days, your family, what you got planned for the summer. I think this has a different vibe than any other conference, professional conference I've been to, the society conferences. And every year it does not disappoint. Every year, it's gotten bigger over the years, but it still feels very intimate, very friendly. I think, Broc, people like you make it, kind of give people permission to just feel very at ease and casual and kind of like in a jokey mood. So I love it every year.
An intimate gathering of around 700 of your closest colleagues and professional peers. I'll say the second big remembrance for me, and you mentioned this too, Doug, was Commissioner Ueda's Q&A. And I thought had a great speech on shareholder proposals. And then the fact that he opened it up for, 20, 25 minutes of straight Q&A really shows that the SEC staff, one, I think is trying to get out more than they have in the past, but also be a little bit more open with how they're doing things. I know it's a ton of rulemaking on their agenda, but we not only had Commissioner Ueda, we had former Commissioner Royson was on a panel, and then the CorpFin director Eric Girding was there. So just a lot of participation by the SEC staff, and the fact that Commissioner Ueda's chief counsel actually posted about it after the fact, I thought is a really interesting change for the SEC, and a good change. Just they're getting more into things.
Commissioner Ueda's speech was also a highlight for me, his prepared remarks. I thought it was unique for an SEC commissioner to be so technical and practical in remarks at an event like this. And you could really tell that he and his counsel, Charles Lee, had talked to folks and thought a lot about Rule 14A8 and the shareholder proposal process. It came up a lot at the conference, and I actually blogged about it this morning too, that shareholder proposal submissions have reached record levels for the past 3 years in a row each year. And so that's something that's, taking up a lot of time and resources and causing some distractions at companies. And it was nice to have that acknowledged by a commissioner. And one point that he made that really jumped out at me specifically was about the requirement to send an opposition statement to the proponent 30 days in advance of filing the proxy statement. And the fact that can disrupt negotiations if you're trying to get the proponent to withdraw their proposal, and then you send them, a written statement of why you would never want to pass that. So Commissioner Ueda was calling for the commission to reassess that requirement. And while I'm not sure that will gain much traction right now, I think it was maybe a nice way to plant the seed, and maybe it could be something that gets picked up down the road.
I actually thought that, a lot of people don't send those. So anyway, maybe another reason to get rid of it.
Yep.
But yeah, on a personal note, I was very excited to see Commissioner Ueda there, because he's the first Asian Pacific American commissioner. And so, that made me feel proud, and made me feel, it's about time. And also Keir Gums is the first Black male president to be, or board chair to be elected. I thought it was a momentous occasion, and clearly just an amazing guy all around, extremely accomplished, now general counsel of Broadridge. And the fact that he's general counsel and is making the time to do this as opposed to general counsel-y stuff, I think says a lot about the stature of the organization.
So my last point is Geraldine Ritter's delivered an incredible keynote at the end of the conference. She's a longtime member of the society. She should be dead by all accounts. She was in a bad train derailment in Philadelphia about 7 years ago. Her tale of trauma and healing is an amazing story, and she's actually put this all into a book entitled Bone by Bone. And she's become quite an incredible speaker. All the little details that she tells about her journey, that's still continuing very strongly, even though it's been many years. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. So I'll be taping a separate video interview with her soon, delving into the nature of resilience and digging into the acronym that she uses to talk about her journey, which is GRASP, which is gratitude, realism, social connection, and purpose. I forgot what the A stands for, but I'll get that from Geraldine. Courtney. And Courtney, as I said in the intro, did such an amazing job helping to put this program together, and getting Geraldine really, and all the other speakers. The water guy at lunch was amazing too. I mean, that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the society does so much to prep for these conferences, and it was truly an honor to serve as chair this year. And we came up with the theme of balanced approach in part because it was, they had the Olympics years ago. And so, but initially I was like, from practical to tactical was kind of where I was going. And I wanted all of the panels and the speakers to have really tactical advice for society members who attended, because I feel like sometimes at conferences, you get a lot of people speaking at you, but not a lot of takeaways. So I thought that the panels this year are all super amazing. And the speakers, I mean, Geraldine was just the what she went through and the resiliency that she exhibited is truly unparalleled. And it was an amazing and also super sad, but uplifting way to end the conference. I thought Scott Harrison of Charity Water was a really interesting story, interesting charity. I like how they segregated the model so that 100% of the public donations go towards the charity and the overhead is handled by private donors. It's a pretty unique model for charities. That's what I'm actually going to follow up with after the conference. But I thought everything was great, and especially the keynote speakers.
Yeah, I mean, Geraldine, I've known her for a long time now. And yeah, I remember the accident and hearing the news about her. And so, her book is not just about kind of the recovery, but also the kind of going back into the professional life and becoming a general counsel of a public company. And I was just like, wow, I don't think I'm made of the same stuff that I would be able to recover physically and then go back into the workplace into kind of a, very high level demanding job, at the top of, she's operating at the top of her craft. And to me, it's mind blowing.
Well, I can't wait to read the book and watch the next video, Brock. And looping back, my final remembrance is reconnecting with everyone in person. That's always a highlight. As Brock mentioned, there are a lot of new faces this year, which is always fun to see. But the aspect that I enjoyed the most was getting to celebrate the accomplishments of the people who've put so much time into the society, and also anticipating what the leaders who are coming into new roles will do. So that includes Courtney as conference chair. She did an awesome job. I know the staff does a lot, but Courtney, you were amazing. And we have a new society chair, as Doug mentioned. Kier Gums will be excellent in that role, and it's a real milestone. New committee chairs who will be outstanding, and they're all building on the success of the great people whose terms had just concluded. So I thought that was fun too, kind of looking back and looking forward.
Congratulations, Courtney. It must feel great to, huge sense of accomplishment. Yeah, I mean, it was just all around fantastic event.
Well, I'm looking forward to attending the conference in July in DC next year as a straight on attendee, possible panelist, but
Exactly.
It's much more relaxing.
Yeah, I like it when I don't have to speak. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brock.
Thanks.